So I love music, but who doesn't? Now, while I'm not the craziest audiophile in the world, I do take my music pretty seriously, and so today I've got a real gem for you. This is my review of the Shure SE215 earbuds. Now, I do just want to say real quick that this video is not sponsored by Shure, nor do I have any affiliation with Shure or any other earphone company. And also, sound is pretty subjective, so what might be great to me might not be very good to you. So this review is entirely my point of view. But with that out of the way, let's get started. So right off the bat, that you should know that there are two variants of the 215. There's the regular 215 and the 215M+. So the only difference between the two is that the M+ version is white and opaque and has inline controls, and the standard version comes in transparent white or transparent black with no inline controls. So just keep that in mind. So the pair that I have for review is the M+ model, but most of this review will count for both models, depending on if you have the regular or the M+ version. So as my first really serious pair of earbuds up from the Apple EarPods, what does $120 actually get you? So starting off first with the accessories, you get what you would expect from a higher end pair of headphones. You get a small carrying case, which I actually secured to the side of my backpack. You get 6 rubber and foam ear tips combined, some paperwork, manuals, and some warranty info, a really cool cleaning tool, which is actually really useful, and of course the earbuds themselves. So the 215s are one of really two different varieties, as these are the over-the-ear style earbuds. So the actual design of the earpiece strikes me as a stage monitor, which is actually what Shure advertises them to be. And if that's the case, as you would expect, the first roughly 2 inches of the cable protruding from the earpiece is flexible for the around the ear component of the earbuds. Now, I did end up having a problem with the material inside the housing that makes it bend, but we will get to that later. So speaking of the cable, in total it measures roughly 3 feet 10 inches long. And moving down from the flexible part of the cable, of course, on the M+ version you have the inline controls. They're okay. It works great, but the housing and the buttons and everything are all plastic, and the overall feel is just kind of cheap and thin. Now, I haven't really had any problems with it yet, but I don't expect I won't. Now, along the cable of the left earpiece for all models, you have the cable joiner for less tangles, and towards the midpoint of the cable, you'll see a very hefty Y-splitter. Now, lots of people on the internet and YouTube and other places say that this is bad for exercising as it flops around and really just gets in the way, but honestly, I don't think so. I run and work out with these things all the time and have had no issues. And also, I think it's worth noting here that the Y-splitter is the same on both the regular model as well as the M+ model, so yeah, just so you know. So, from the Y-splitter, after about another 1.5 feet of cable, you have the standard gold-plated 3.5mm headphone jack, which seems durable, but the shroud around it is pretty average, so I was expecting a little bit more in terms of durability down there, but that's just how it is. So all in all, the cable is great. It's thick, it's got a durable jack, connectors, and splitter. However, the remote on the M+ version feels a bit cheap, and the shroud around the jack is a bit average as well. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these. Now, with one more thing about the cable, I just want to talk real quick about the flexible material on the right earphone specifically. So it turns out that the flexible material in the right earphone actually broke. It just kind of snapped in half, and so as you'll notice, it actually doesn't hold its shape anymore in that one joint, which is right where it curves around my ear, which is a really big disappointment because now they don't stay on my ears nearly as well. They still do stay in my ears, but that thing just kind of flops around on the top of my ear. So I have heard of that being a problem with some other people's headphones. You may want to keep that in mind, but luckily you can buy replacement cables for these, which I will get to in a minute. So let's talk about the earpieces themselves. So as I said earlier, they come in a clear white and clear black, or if you get the M+ model, they come in white. Now here's something really cool. You can actually disconnect the earphones from the actual cable. So I think that besides the sound quality, that's what makes these headphones so amazing. If something is wrong with the cable, like say that little flexible material issue that I was talking about earlier, you can just swap out the cable instead of the entire headphone unit, which is definitely a plus. So the process of disconnecting is a little bit nerve-wracking at first, but you just have to pull up firm and it just comes off. Now this is what I believe is great about companies like Shure, that they're still able to make headphones that, while are cheaper than their higher end models, can still provide you with the top-of-the-line features and protection, and the detachable cables are a huge bonus in a headphone costing only $100 to $120. So the earpiece is pretty slick. It's got a streamlined design and it's branded on the outside with the model and respective ear that it goes in on the inside. Now if you remove the ear tips on the actual earpiece, the cylindrical nozzle is underneath and it feels a bit cheap and thin, but I haven't had any problems with it yet, so speaking of ear tips, the SE215s come with a variety of different sizes of ear tip in two materials, rubber and foam. Foam ear tips have a plastic screen on the inside which keeps wax and other debris out of the ear tip, and from the testing that I've done, there is no difference in sound because of this little screen. So, both rubber and foam come in three different sizes, large, medium, and small. For those who dig the foam tips, the large is precisely 1.5 centimeters wide, the medium is 1.3 centimeters wide, and the small is 1.1 centimeters wide. Now on the rubber side of things, which is where I stand, the large is 1.3 centimeters, the medium is 1.1 centimeters, and finally the small is 0.9 centimeters. So when it comes to installing the ear tips, it's pretty easy, but it's a little tough the first time you do it. So the stock earpieces that come on are the medium foam tips. Now after realizing that I wanted to change these, I tried taking them off, but with no success. So when taking them off, it feels like you're gonna break the entire earpiece, but you just have to be firm, as sometimes during shipping, the plastic and the foam tips can adhere to the nozzle, so just make sure you keep that in mind. Now installing the rubber tips is much easier, as they pretty much just slide onto the nozzle without much of an issue at all. So still on the topic of ear tips, when you bring sound into the picture, every kind of ear tip gives you a more subjective sound. Personally, I use rubber. So the rubber tips provide plenty of noise isolation and grip inside my ear, all while avoiding the whole roll up and expand concept involved in the foam tips. However, as expected, the foam tips will provide better noise isolation. So speaking of isolation, according to Shure, the SE215s provide up to 37 decibels of isolation. Now this is assuming that you found the proper material and fit of an earpiece, so it may take some experimenting to find the right one that gives you a satisfactory listening experience. Now all of this kind of funnels into how they sound. So how do they sound? Well, as I said before, I am no audiophile. I don't really pick apart my music too much, nor do I critique any monitors for their soundstage. However, I did have one very specific task in mind for these earbuds. I wanted these headphones to be able to provide a listening experience that would leave me inspired and could get me through a tough spot in both the real world and creatively as a filmmaker and a YouTuber. And I think that that's just about the best way to describe the sound of these. Sure, they don't really take risks, but every aspect of the sound has been buffed and you can hear it in every beat. The bass is full, not too heavy, but punchy enough to make you want to listen to songs that have more bass in them. The mids and vocals are a bit rounded off, but they definitely don't get lost. And the highs ring out just enough so that the sound delivered is nothing short of a crisp, clear $120 sound. So compared to stock earphones that you'll get with, say, an iPhone, it's no contest. If you like the well-rounded, bright sounds, then the SE215s are your earphones. However, that's not to say that they are without competitors. If you're more of an advanced listener or someone who has a preference when it comes to sound signature other than the detailed sound with enhanced bass, there are other options that will probably make you happier, like the Sennheiser Momentum or even something like RHAs, which are in the similar price range. However, everything that you get packaged in the 215s, like the detachable cables, superb sound isolation, and fantastic sound quality, make the 215s an amazing pair of earbuds that I can certainly recommend. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a comment down below, and I will catch you guys next week.